I think this is my most frequently asked question. Leslie, why are you so successful? And the honest answer, as simple as it might sound, is that I just decided that I was going to be. That thankfully for me, my trauma actually pushed me to be hyper independent and hyper successful because it was the only way I saw of getting out of the situation I was born in. I had this saying, you're defined by the choices you make, not the circumstances. And that was really true in my life and in my upbringing, where I just chose differently. I didn't accept that I was born to drug addict parents. I didn't accept that we were born with not having very much at all. I didn't accept that I was born in a little country town, so I had to stay there and become a statistic of, 17 and pregnant. And not that there's anything wrong with that. We are all on our separate journeys. But I just chose, there was moments where I was like, I want more and I'm going to make sure I get it. And I had this relentless flame. And I talk about this. People say, well, you're either born with it or you're not. I call bullshit. I think everyone is born with this flame inside of us, this knowing that we're here to achieve bigger and better and braver things. But just not everyone listens. Not everyone feels that flame and allows it to engulf you, to change your life. Why does my life suck? Why do I not feel fulfilled, not feel loved in my relationship when my husband, my ex-husband, was or is the most loving and giving person that I know? Why do I keep attracting business partners that are out to fuck me over? Why am I so overweight and so unhappy? These were the questions that I asked myself. These were the questions that I kept looking for answers outside of myself, kept blaming my ex-husband for not showing up in the way that I wanted, kept blaming the patriarchy for the reason that I kept finding misogynistic men in my business and in partnership with me, kept blaming the stress that I was under because the world just didn't understand what it took to build a business. And then I realized that there was only one common denominator between everything good and everything bad that was happening in my life. And that common denominator was me. And it was when I stopped and started to turn those fingers and point them within. It was when I stopped and actually started to look at me and my behaviors and how I was and wasn't showing up in my life and the world, that I actually started to understand why my world was reflecting back to me what it was reflecting. And I started to do the work to free myself of these shackles of shame and guilt and burden that had me living a prisoner in my own life. And when I started to turn within and when I started to show love to that little girl that had been screaming out for my attention for 36 years of my life began to transform. I began to love myself. I began to love my life. I began to create a life that people only dream of, where I have wealth and health and freedom, where I'm truly happy from the inside out. And that is why you should start to look within for the answers to these problems that you think are coming at you from the outside in, because really it's from the inside out. I hate the word or the phrase or the hot topic of emotional intelligence. And not because I don't think it's important. It's because people don't truly understand what emotional intelligence is. And they use it to look outside of themselves for the answer. They use emotional intelligence as a way to blame someone else for how they're not showing up in the relationship or the world or their workplace. People use emotional intelligence as this shield. They weaponize it. They use it to create divide. Tom's just not emotionally intelligent enough to understand. Christy's not a good leader because she doesn't have emotional intelligence. What if we started to flip the script? What if we started to ask, what support do these people need to feel at home in their bodies? What support do these people need to actually love and trust themselves? Because when you love and trust yourself, the way you relate with people changes. It's not a lack of emotional intelligence. It's a lack of self-love. It's a lack of self-awareness. It's a lack of an ability to turn inward for the answers. And it's a desire to keep blaming things outside of ourselves, to keep labeling things as broken or wrong or lacking in some way. And we really just need to flip the script, point the finger inwards, and start asking whether we're self-intelligent, whether we're showing up for ourselves in the best way, whether we even understand ourselves enough to know what that means and to really put it into practice. I hate International Women's Day. This is a controversial opinion that I have. And for many, many years, I have avoided International Women's Day events. And I'll tell you why. I had this belief, even before I was a master practitioner in NLP, that we shouldn't highlight the things we want less of in our life. And to me, International Women's Day is highlighting a society where women are less than. We need a special day to feel honoured, to feel supported, to feel like we get the same attention and status and opportunities that men do. And I've never believed this to be true. I have worked most of my life in male-dominated industries. And what I know to be true is I didn't believe that I was treated any differently or had less opportunities than my male counterparts. And I held on to this belief, this saying that I heard Janine Ellis say once, that it's none of our business what other people think of us. So if we don't highlight limitation, we have less limitation in our life. On this day, this International Women's Day, on this day where we're meant to be celebrating women and giving us more opportunity and more chance and closing the gap, I want you to reflect on this belief that we attract what we think, we attract what's in our frequency, you know, the law of attraction, and how every single year International Women's Day rolls around and it reminds us that we're less than. It brings forth this belief that we need a day to recognize women because we don't get the same opportunities as men. And I don't believe that to be true. And it might be true for you in your world. But I've always had this intrinsic belief that, I heard Janine Ellis say this once when I was getting to the height of my career just before I started my recruitment business. It's none of our business what other people think of us. So when you walk into boardrooms and when you walk into rooms, if you're grounded in who you are, if you're not searching for validation outside of you, if you're not looking for someone to come save you or give you direction, if you're self-led, and if you truly love and trust yourself, you can come into this state of not really giving a fuck what people think, including the men that we feel is marginalizing us, because sometimes that belief just comes from within.